And this is the DRC meeting for Mohammed residents. This meeting will be live streamed and recorded. Your lead reviewer is Amy Lindsay. Amy will highlight any of the major items we should discuss and then turn it over to the applicant. Go ahead, Amy.
Certainly. So you should have received our comments. And as you know, the issues surrounding this property are primarily having to do with Game Preserve Road and the access from it. So Game Preserve Road being a rustic road, we want to make certain that there is a safe fire access. So what you're showing right now does work. For fire access, we of course would like it to be much smaller, but acknowledge the fact that for safety reasons, you will need to meet whatever fire access requires. Also, a major issue was site distance. And I think for us, it was the interaction of those two things and the rustic road are really the only two issues we see with the plan. Thanks.
All right, is it up to us now?
It's your turn.
Okay, I guess we have just a couple of questions on here. One is with transportation. Is Richard on the, is he on the call?
Yes,
he is
I'm here.
Call. Hey, just a question for you. You have on the your comments to provide a section.
Yes.
Are you, because this is the rustic, are you just looking for the section that we have out there? Are you going to be looking for improvements? Kind of where are you headed with that is one of my questions.
Existing section, and then if you are making, I know there's some dedication that I think I had another comment about, just showing what that would mean in terms of the right of way. But yeah, I think ultimately just wanting to understand what the final right of way, and then I know the pavement's not being changed, but having that dimensioned out.
Okay, and can I, am I able to, I can share my screen right now as well. So let me, I'm gonna look at all you guys for a minute. Oh, sorry. Go, shoot. I'll open this one more time. Just so we pulled up this sketch that we have here. Can everyone see this?
Yep.
All right. So the yellow that we have is the actual right of way on the adjacent properties and on the area in front of the subject property. So this is State Highway. I'm sorry, Maryland. State of Maryland across the street, and then we have the county along in this area. So what we were looking at was actually from the property line would be 35-foot offset to provide the dedication necessary on this area. Would that be what you're looking for, or because it's not organized at all on either side of this property?
Yeah, I think just showing a section somewhere along the property frontage,
Okay.
and showing what the probably where you're making the dedication to show where the existing right of way is and where it would be after the dedication, and then again just dimensioning out the pavement.
Okay, all right, we can do that. And then I have a question on, on this plan that we have in front of us, we're actually showing the site distance that we believe. So we have 280 feet to 300 feet to the east of the property. The minimum is 280 to 240, which we believe that we have. The issue, and if you go through and read the site distance, the issue that we have are these 3 trees that are in the way of our surveyors actually shooting this distance. Is there, aside from them possibly trying to work around this, is there a protocol for how do we go about removal of these trees ahead of anything else? or maybe that's a question for Amy.
So thanks, Mike. And thank you for asking and not just removing them.
Yes.
So since you are subject to forest conservation, we would have to write a letter or something so that you and work with the inspector since this is under review. So are the trees in the way of the site distance or determining the site distance? That's my first question. I'm sorry if I misunderstood.
Well, it's kind of both, because when the site distance is measured, 6 feet from the back of the edge of pavement, you turn immediately to the west and you're at, I think it's a 30-inch tree 8 feet away. So we cannot run any to do the true distance. We'd have to have the surveyors possibly come up to across and then back down. We're trying to work out with them how they could get us over there to verify that distance without actually having to remove trees, and that's what we're waiting for. We've run into this before where it's more like a scrub area, and we've been able to go out and just kind of clear some scrub lines, but we haven't run into a condition where we have 3 significant or specimen trees directly in the field of vision of that site distance. Like, I mean, literally right on them.
So it looks like some of those trees are in the right of way. So
Correct.
That would also go to the DPS right of way inspector. I just want to make certain that we keep you on the right side of the law here. So I think that a conversation amongst the inspectors, once you figure out what you actually need, we should be able to accommodate that. This is a major safety issue on this road, so we do recognize that. Okay.
So we can work with that. I think right now our big issue, our big concern is what everyone else says. I spoke with Deepak briefly, is just about the site distance. So I think once we work that out, then we come back. And Richard, should we work with you to make sure that we are doing dedication correctly before we come back in?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
just email me or give me a call. That's fine.
Okay, and I think we did go to Rustic Roads last Thursday evening, and it was 6 votes for support of the project. So we do have that with the driveway entrance session. I think they were supposed to hopefully write a letter prior to today, but I'm not sure if that occurred or not.
So Mike, just in looking at this, does moving the driveway to the left property line, I know you've got an issue with a neighbor encroaching there, but to me, that looks like you would then you're almost at the apex of that curve then. So then you would be having, you wouldn't have the sort of recurved aspect. Does that get you anything for sight distance?
We actually looked at that and we did a study on it. The issue is still going to be the 26-foot radius. If we have to hold this edge right here, it cannot overlap onto that property. We're going to be probably over here. And I think it might actually end up being worse, but I'm not positive right now.
Okay.
We can take a look at that. The other issue that we're having is coming up on this side would probably make it, I want to be careful how I say this, but could make it so that the septic, we don't have enough septic area. Even if we expanded if we shifted, so this is bumped out for steep slopes on this side for the septic, but it's actually worse. It's steeper on this property over here. So it might reduce our septic area to something that could not work.
Okay.
Which could cause us a bigger problem. We're definitely trying to figure out if it would make more sense to shift it to this side if we can get the site distance. But yeah, we're looking at that.
Mike, this is Deepak here. I just want to point out that the site distance is measured along the center line, and it's not a straight shot. So basically, that measurement should be off of the center line of the roadway.
To this center line right here.
I know, but the 240 feet, right? The 240 feet should be measured along the center line.
along this coincidental with the road?
Yes. So you will get more distance. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, that would actually help us, is what you're
Yes.
saying.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we're trying to figure out I guess maybe that's good for us, because we're trying to figure out a worst case, because no one wants a bad situation out there.
Yeah.
So,
So
okay.
it's
I
measured
guess we
along the center line.
could.
So I just
yeah,
wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, so we could actually maybe would save this tree on the corner potentially if we did measure along here. If we came 240 over, it might put us somewhere in here. Okay. All right. Thank you. I didn't realize that. Okay. We can
So Mike,
definitely work with it. Yeah.
do you need to schedule a follow-up meeting with everyone?
Yeah,
It cannot be next Tuesday because of Labor Day, and we had to move some things around. But I'm happy to find another time to schedule a follow-up if you want to go through some things.
I think we have to be. Oh, I'm sorry. The owners are on. I was very concerned that the owners didn't get invited. So I do see that they are logged on now.
We're here.
Well.
I don't have a
Thank you.
working camera, but I'm here.
No, that's fine. When we started, I didn't see you, and I was concerned that you didn't get the invite. Yeah, I think that we need to probably schedule that a follow-up on this. Like I said, we started putting together some sketches and how we think that we can resolve this. I did have a brief conversation with Deepak. I think it was maybe last Friday. I don't recall. About what his concerns are. We clearly understand the safety is one of the big concerns, the biggest concern of this project. But I think what we want to do is probably set that meeting. We're hoping to hear back from our surveyors, and whether or not we've asked them if they can set some stakes out there for us to make a determination. That way, maybe Deepak, everyone can, if we'd like to go out there and review that condition, we can do that as well. So when would be the next available meeting, Amy, if it's not next Tuesday?
I'll just have to manually look for something on people's calendars, but we can try and get that set up for next week.
Okay.
Does that time frame work for you?
Yeah, I think so. We do want to kind of keep this going.
Right.
Can I ask, I think, one more question on here? Richard, would there be any reason why someone would make a recommendation to widen this rustic road in front of our property to 20 feet versus keep it at 18?
No, I believe that we're not looking. I don't think anybody's looking to widen rustic roads.
Okay. All right. Just want to understand that part. Okay. So yeah, I think it gets distilled down to the site distance at this point and the entrance. So I guess while I've got you, one more question on the forest. I think one of the comments was that we cannot do landscape credit.
That's correct.
For the smaller, did that change with the
Yes.
last revision? Okay. All right.
It has to do with equity focus areas and
Yeah.
where you can do landscape credit to meet your reforestation. So before
Okay.
you could do 0.2, you could do 20% essentially.
Yeah.
Now you are not eligible to do that unless it is an equity focus area.
Okay. All right. I missed that. So that's all right. That's just more off-site. So, okay. No, I think it's just setting up the meeting with transportation, DOT, and making sure that we get that site distance.
Well, let me know if you want this to be a field meeting versus an office meeting, because obviously I'll be looking for different time frames. So if you're happy with an office meeting, I'll be looking for an hour for hopefully next Wednesday.
It's actually an interesting question. Deepak, do we have a preference on that? I hadn't thought about that.
Not really. I mean, as long as you can meet it. I mean, I'll be happy to come to the site as well. I don't have an issue with that.
I don't know if we can get that staked out quick enough. Let me reach back out to you maybe by the end of the day today, Amy, and let you know.
Sounds good. We'll get
today,
that done for you as quickly as possible so we can keep this moving.
Today or tomorrow, and we'll figure out if we can make it worth, if we can get something out in the field, and we'll see what we can do. Okay.
Great.
I think that's all that we have for right now. So.
Hi, good morning. Good
everybody. This is Matt Mikowski, Montgomery County DPS zoning. Just a quick comment. The plan was reviewed as approved and recommended for approval. Just wanted to make a quick comment on my notes. I saw your development table on the site plan, not on the cover sheet. However, just please at the right time address your building height request. There's no building height listed. That can go on your site plan or on your front elevation page. Just a quick reminder that that is to the pre-construction average grade. So along the front of that building. So at the right time, just include that. All systems go from zoning otherwise. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think that's all I've got right now then.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank
We'll
you.
reach back out.
Bye.
Thank you. See ya.
the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division, and this is the DRC meeting for Rose Village. Your lead reviewer is Emily Teitelbaum. Emily, if you can bring the plan up, please. And the purpose of this meeting is for the applicant to ask any questions based upon the comments that you received. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded. I will turn it over to Emily to highlight any of the major items we should discuss, and then it will be the applicant's meeting. Go ahead, Emily. And you're muted, Emily.
Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me now? Good. Okay. Thanks for being here with us today. I've pulled up the transportation plan, circulation plan for Rose Village here on the screen. And I'll just highlight a few of the main issues that have come up during our review so far. The first is, given that the zoning code doesn't require any parking at this location, since it's within a half-mile of Metro, we would really like to see a reduction in the amount of parking provided at the subsequent plan stages. We also want to emphasize that any of the parking garages that are facing the public realm really need to be lined with uses or comprehensively screened. We've worked pretty extensively with the applicant team on transportation issues concerning this project over the past few months. The collaboration's been great. There are a few more still that I think will require further coordination prior to the preliminary plan, especially since the preliminary plan will be on an accelerated schedule. There's still concerns about the intersection of Street B and Town Road, specifically about left turns and through movements, and then the lack of adequate spacing between private street C here and the traffic signal right here. So those are our main concerns, and happy to answer any questions the applicant team has.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Phil Hummel with the law firm of Mount Stockbridge, representing applicant Wilco. Thanks, Christina. Thanks, Emily. As Emily mentioned, we've been working with staff for quite a while on this prior to a formal submission. So just want to first thank everyone on the call for their continued coordination and reviewing concepts before we actually formally submitted. And that's been very helpful, and staff has been very cooperative. So thank you for that. I will comment on the first issues that were raised by Emily, the Street B Town Road intersection. We just want to observe that, this is a sketch plan amendment, and there is an original approved sketch plan that showed Street B in that general location with that general operation. So just wanted to point that out, that this isn't, a new design starting from scratch. We did have a similar road on the original approved sketch plan. On the intersection spacing between Street C and Town Road, we understand that there's an 800-foot standard that's related to the road's classification, Josiah Henson Parkway, as a parkway. There is an ongoing effort to update the master plan of highways and transitways, and we will be formally requesting that the classification of that road be changed from a parkway to a downtown boulevard. For reference, there are only two other parkways in the county that we're aware of: Clara Barton Parkway and Cabin John Parkway, both of which function very, very different than this portion of Josiah Henson Parkway. So we think there is significant justification to change that classification. And we just wanted to see if staff at this point had any comments, thoughts on that position.
Brenda or Richard, if you're on, if you want to jump in.
No, I think my comment just referenced the section of code. I understand you're going to make that formal request. So, and I think I'm just going to defer to DOT on if they have any further response.
Yeah, I want to say that the initial letter was done before the complete streets came into play, and everything kind of changed within the code. Since then, we have been working with it, and we just don't feel comfortable with that street B going into Josiah. We can speak more. I know that you have made a request to speak with with our director as well. So.
Sorry, you mean Street C?
Yeah, sorry,
And
Street C.
Josiah?
Street B is a state, so sorry.
Okay.
I can't. Yeah, I can't see. It's very small.
Yeah. Brenda, any thoughts on the change in the classification of Josiah Henson Parkway?
This is Rebecca from DOT. So we don't really have any comment. While the road was shown in there, we don't agree with. We've told you before that we will allow the ins. You have an in, but we will not allow the out. You need to provide a written justification to us, which I'm not sure has been done for that access point at this time. And until the road classification's been changed, you need to meet the current standards.
Understood. I just wanted to see if staff had a position on the appropriateness of changing the classification.
DOT hasn't come out with the position at this point that I'm aware of.
Okay. That's helpful.
Hey, Phil, really quick, just circling back to Street B. I don't think Kwesi's on this call, but I know he made a similar comment about the full access of Street B onto Town Road. So it may just be worth having a separate conversation with SHA, because ultimately they'll have to be the ones that would approve that access.
Kwesi's on this call.
Yeah, I'm here, and I did share that concern. It's a lot of movement without being signalized, and it could be unsafe. So we can evaluate it more, but I think that might be a problem.
I just want to confirm, Kwesi, that you're aware that there was a previously approved sketch plan. This is not a brand new plan.
I
Bill,
think,
I don't.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I don't think we have a problem with the road shown on the sketch plan. It's just for the next phase, the preliminary plan, that it could really become more of an issue. So it's something that we should resolve as soon as we can, but not necessarily before the sketch plan is approved. That's what I would say about it. I mean, I think we will make a note about it in the staff report for sure.
Okay.
That the movements have not been approved, but I mean, Kwesi, you were okay with the general location of the intersection, correct? Was it?
Yeah,
it was
it's
just certain movements.
Yeah, the less than the through. I mean, without being signalized, I think it could be a safety issue.
I guess the only thing, and I'll defer to Nancy Randall, who's on this call.
Mhm.
It seemed that there would be a lot of signals in a very short stretch there. You have a signal at Executive in town, Street B in town, Street D in town, and Josiah Henson in town. That would be 4 signals in a pretty short stretch there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the movements could be reevaluated and not have less than throughs. I'm not sure how that would affect the site.
Okay, well, we can have a broader conversation about that.
Okay.
There was a comment about the 50% reduction in chip generation due to our location in the red policy area for White Flint. That was recognized in the initial sketch plan. Nancy, I don't know if you want to comment any further on that, but we feel comfortable that that is appropriate.
That's correct. And I sent over to you, Phil, as you know, the legislation and the stuff within the LATR, as well as other documents. This parcel has been incorporated into White Flint Metro Station policy area, and so is subject to the same requirements that Pike and Rose was, that North Bethesda Town Center, the VOB project, Gables, all of those projects. This parcel, the one directly to the north of us, it's the same situation. And we've followed the same rules and regs that we did for all of those parcels.
Hey, Richard, I think that was your comment.
Yeah, I just did not see anything in the LATR about reduction of 50%.
Yeah, it's in there. And if you'd like, Richard, I can send you the same texts that I sent out to the team last night, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And again, this property is exempt from having to do the LATR analysis. But yeah, I just wanted some clarification on that 50%, because that was the first time I'd seen that.
Yeah, no, it's the same as for the other parcels, and it's actually a footnote in a couple of places, which is maybe why I just did a word search. So I'll send you that documentation.
Thanks.
You bet.
Then there was a comment on the calculation of open space and removing some open space slivers. We will do that, and we still think that will exceed what's required. There was also a comment about requiring a stormwater management concept plan, which, again, a gentle reminder that we're at sketch plan phase. So I don't believe that a concept is required at this time. We are providing a stormwater management narrative, which is what's usually appropriate at sketch plan. So wanted to follow up on that.
I can talk a little bit about the stormwater. We know that this is going to be moving through the system very quickly.
Yes.
And stormwater can have a tremendous effect on the layout of this property, and there's some drainage issues down below as well. And we just suggested that you may want to consider having something in for review earlier than later.
Yeah.
So that we're not up against the gun and we have a problem at the time when we start to have, issues. That's all.
Yeah, totally fair. Thanks, Mark. We're on the same page there.
Not a requirement, just a suggestion.
Totally. We agree. I also wanted to thank Natasha for her very thorough area design comments. We just wanted to make a quick point that, we are a significant affordable housing project, so we're doing our best to kind of balance some of these design features, which do have a cost associated with them, with, still providing an economically viable project that's going to produce a significant amount of affordable housing. There were also comments on the phasing of this permanent civic green, and we recognize there's a desire to have that, front loaded as much as possible. And I think we're open to that, and are even open to including the park in the mixed income housing plan boundaries instead of the sketch plan boundaries. But wanted to confirm, one, that we could still count the park for public benefit points. We think the code allows that flexibility. And two, that we would be able to include the entire roadway network then in the MIHC. We can have a conversation offline about that because it kind of gets in the weeds, but wanted to raise that. We're open to that, but there are some procedural issues that we just want to confirm. Bob, I don't know if you had additional thoughts on that.
No, I think that it'd be a great park for the affordable buildings A and B right off the bat. And I think it would, make the whole park start to come together quicker.
So I don't know if planning staff had an initial reaction to that, or if we should just have a conversation offline.
I think that would be a great idea to include the park with the mixed income housing community plan. We just have to think about how that would work with the sketch plan and, I'm not sure what you're referring to with the rest of the street network. You would want to have all of that included with the mixed income housing community plan.
Yeah, because the park abuts Street B, Street A, and Street D. So we would want to include those roads in the MIHC as well, because those roads touch the park.
Okay, yeah, we'll have to talk about that a little more, I think.
Okay. There was also a comment on centerline radius, which is a bit outside my expertise, so I'm going to turn that over to Vika. I think there was just a comment about minimum centerline radius.
Yeah, I think so this is Logan Kowski with Vika, civil engineer of record moving forward. I I'm not sure we're going to solve this here, but I guess just suggesting the continued collaboration with DOT and staff, specific to Street B and Street D here. Just noting that specific to Street D, it is consistent with the previously approved sketch plan, and the road widths have been adjusted to accommodate larger trucks up to a WB50. So I'm not sure if staff or Rebecca, your team has anything in addition to that with the ongoing.
We don't
items.
we don't review roads at you did not provide enough information, regardless of what you think at sketch plan. You did not provide enough information for us to make a determination. Your private roads need to be public road standards, and Park and Planning is the authority on those roads. So if Park and Planning wants to approve those roads as is, then that's their choice. However, if they don't, they are required to meet the standards. And so you need to go through the code and say which standards are you meeting and which standards you're not meeting. And you need to provide all that information to us before anybody can make a determination. And that's usually done at preliminary plan. So until we get all the things that are required per the code, and you tell us what specific things you're meeting and what things you're not and why you're not meeting them, we can't review any of these roads.
And just to, I'll note, I think my comment had that section about the horizontal center line radii. That was more, again, of a heads up of at the time of preliminary plan and site plan, we'll need that information. So it's more of just, getting out ahead of it.
Great. Yeah, I think we understand that. Thanks, Richard. And then just a couple of process questions. Emily, can you confirm what the resubmission schedule is to keep on track for the hearing date?
Oh, I forgot to look that up before this meeting, but I'll email it out to you right after this.
Okay, great.
I have it on my screen.
Oh, fantastic.
The published dates are September 10th for our first resubmission. Hopefully that agrees with what you dig up and send out. And then we would be shooting for an October 31st hearing.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Emily, if you could just confirm that, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, sure.
And then for some of these follow-up meetings, Emily, should we work through you or should we work through Matt? Who's the best person to
You can work
with?
through me.
Okay. Great. Oh, and then Emily, you commented up front about the parking amount, and we understand that. I think we understand in this zone that there are maximums, and obviously we'll comply with the maximums. We are also just trying to balance, market demand as well, and we can speak to that later. And we also recognize the need for the garage to be appropriately and attractively screened, and we're committed to working that out too.
Okay, thanks.
So I think that's all that I had. I don't know if anyone else from our team has any other comments, but thanks again. Sounds like we have a couple of follow-up meetings to schedule, and Emily will work through you on handling that.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Christina Sorrento. I'm the Chief of the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division. And this is the DRC meeting for 7749 Old Georgetown Road. Your lead reviewer is Grace Bogdan. The purpose of this meeting is for you to ask any questions based upon the comments that you received. And this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. I will turn it over to Grace to highlight any of the major items, and then it will turn over to the applicant. Go ahead, Grace.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So as we all know, this just recently was approved for a sketch plan, and that really teed up a lot of the issues that are now being addressed with the preliminary and the site plan. Going through the comments, I think there's, a category of missing items and then some other major comments. And so just to briefly go through the missing items, we need the loading management plan, the truck turning templates. We're missing the noise analysis for the preliminary plan. And then for the public benefits portion of the site plan, I did not see the recycling facility plan or the draft energy model. So those are the 5 main missing items that we did see. And then in the other comments, there was a lot of refinements and clarifications. But I think one item that we should probably discuss today is the sketch plan had a condition requiring the applicant to participate in the bike lanes on St. Elmo Avenue to be determined at preliminary plan. And so we did provide comments as to what that participation should look like. And that includes a bike lane with a buffer on St. Elmo with flex posts along the site frontage, and then extending beyond the site frontage to the east to Norfolk Avenue would be to install striped lanes. And so those comments are in our transportation planning comments, also echoed, I believe, in DOT's comments. And then just one last item I think that we'd like to see addressed in the resubmittal is the loading space. And this is also echoed in transportation and DOT's. It's really narrow at 10 feet. And so we were hoping there would be a way to maybe get that a little wider to help with maneuvering for trucks going in and out. But when I reviewed those comments, I think those were the main ones, and I'm happy to turn it over to the applicant for any discussions, and then we can talk schedule.
Thanks, Grace and Christina. Matt Gordon on behalf of the applicant Stonebridge. I think we've got the rest of our team here, and yeah, the first point I had was we saw a number of like the supplemental materials, so we're already working on getting all those items that you identified. So we'll work with Grace, and then I know one of them goes to DEP, one goes to DPS. So we'll coordinate with the appropriate agencies and make sure that that all gets put into the application. And then I sent an email. I'll come back to the bike lanes, but I sent an email to Billy Whalen. One of the other things that we were trying to clarify, and I guess we haven't heard back from Wayne Miller, I believe from DOT, was there was a comment about like improvements to ride-on bus facilities in the vicinity, but the comment referred to Montgomery and East Lane on the other side of Bethesda. So it obviously wasn't relevant to this project. So we were trying to get an understanding of what, if anything, DOT was asking for with respect to the ride-on bus stop. I think there's one not on our frontage, but to the south of us on Old Georgetown.
Hi, this is Billy Whalen. Yeah, correct. I had responded to your email that that particular bus stop was not applicable to this project, but I think there is one to the south, as you mentioned, on Old Georgetown. So I haven't heard back from Wayne, but I'll follow up with him.
Okay, and then one other, Billy, and I guess for Grace as well, at sketch plan, there was like a standard comment about this truncation at the corner of Old Georgetown Road in St. Elmo. And like most of these urban projects that you all see, we're requesting the planning board approve the waiver or elimination rather of that truncation. And because we're providing the public improvement easement and we're setting the building back, that there'll be, adequate site distance and visibility for, safe and efficient traffic operations. And we had actually reached out to Kwesi. I don't know if Kwesi's on the call at Sketch Plan, and he had confirmed in an email, we prepared an exhibit that we can include to DOT and Park and Planning. I think they already have it, but that he was okay with that. So if there's anything we need to do further with our resubmission, it'd be helpful to know. But I believe the justification statement included, the findings required for the planning board to approve that.
Yeah, I do
Okay.
see it in the SOJ, but if you could forward the email from Quasi, that would be helpful.
Okay. And then I'm looking at the sketch plan approval for the bike lanes. And of course, I'm not finding, because I know we obviously talked about this during sketch plan, and we had agreed to, I'm hoping I can find it really quickly, but I don't know why I'm not seeing the condition.
It's 10K. At preliminary plan, the applicant must participate in the implementation.
Okay. Yeah. So no issue along St. Elmo, our frontage. But I remember this came up, Grace, because we had wordsmithed the language, and it says participate in implementation of the master plan designated bicycle facility along our frontage. So I'm sure, as you're hearing from other applicants, it's pretty challenging in this current market to get financing to develop these types of high-rise projects. And then, we also have to contend with regulations that have been adopted, rent control, other factors. So I don't think we're willing to extend to Norfolk Avenue, and I'm not aware of any legal basis that would require us to do that. Not trying to be difficult, but we've got a lot. We got a lot of challenges to get this project built, so we're not really able to kind of take on things that go beyond the legal standards of what's required of an applicant. So we can talk about that offline, but I don't think that that's something we're interested in committing to.
Yeah, I think that we'll probably want to discuss that with DOT and Matt Johnson with BIPA. I know that there was a reason, I think because the opportunity is right here and there's space within the right of way. So we were looking for that, but that should probably be a continued discussion.
Yeah, what we'll do is we can get we can have a condition and coordinate, and then let DOT and their contractor tie in at the edge of our limits of disturbance, and they can take it from there. But I've seen this play out on other projects, and it becomes really challenging when it's put on the applicant to go beyond their site frontage. And as I think everybody understands, this project, it generates less than the peak hour trips that's required to even do a traffic study. So I don't think there's any nexus or rough proportionality under, what's legally, there's no basis to require it. And not trying to be difficult, but again, we've got a lot of other challenges to deal with to get this project built. So, I think it includes a pretty significant number of MPDUs and other benefits that the county is going to gain in terms of tax revenue. So we want to make that happen, but we can't really commit to additional financial considerations that are not otherwise required.
I hear you.
And then Dave Cerniglia from Stonebridge. I think those were all of our kind of items, but we will, I guess, schedule wise, Grace, we'll work with you if you want. I think if you can let us know, we can make a resubmission and address the majority of these things, and then we may supplement with some of these other reports before the cutoff so that we can maintain our hearing date.
Sure. Yeah, based on your acceptance date, the planning board hearing date would be December 5th, with your first resubmission being due by September 11th and the final resubmission by October 1st.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll submit by the 11th, and then I guess coordinate with Grace and DOT on these other few items to make sure that it all gets addressed.
Great. All right, anything else?
I think that's everything, unless Mike Goodman or Dave, if there's something I missed, can speak up.
No, I think that was everything on our list.
Yeah, same here. I know Matt will need to chat a little bit more on sort of the details of the loading management plan. I know we talked through that a little bit at sketch plan. So we have sort of a good idea what we need to do. Just want to make sure we get it we get it done correctly.
Yeah, we've got the sort of the template that's been used on a number of other projects in Bethesda, so we can modify that.
Awesome. Okay. And then the details on the loading space itself, we'll work with Chris and his team to fine tune that a little bit. I would agree. I'd love to have, knowing what we're going through at Avocet Tower right now, I'd love to have a little bit wider of a dock to play with.
I think, Grace, just for a clarification, when we mark it up, I think we have the room to do it. And I think we talked about this at the DAP. You know, we were, I think on the plan, would you prefer us to show maybe a dimension for the door opening? Because I think what we show now is just the, you know, the required space size of, you know, 10 by 30 of the loading space itself, and then we can show a dimension of the actual opening for the loading dock. Would that make the most sense?
Yeah, no, we'd like to see, at its widest point, what it would be.
Perfect.
It's great that it meets the minimum requirements, but you know what we're
Yeah.
hearing in Bethesda, that it's not sufficient, so.
Yeah, I just want to make sure if, like, I mean, I could show it, you know, wider. It just, yeah, that's fine. I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
The Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division. And this is the DRC discussion item for Paramount Self-Storage. Your lead reviewer is Troy Leftwich. I believe that Carrie Sanders wants to speak first, but I will just say that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed. Go ahead, Carrie.
Good morning. Thank you, Christina. Carrie Sanders, Mid-County Division Chief. I wanted to kick this meeting off just stating clearly at this time we're unable to support this proposal because it doesn't satisfy the requirements of the master plan, which envisioned this site in the larger district for mixed-use, predominantly residential development. This case is different from another recent example we worked with you all on, which is in a different plan area. The reason it's different because the site here that we're looking at is in close proximity to the Shady Grove Metro Rail Station. It's also very close proximity to recently constructed residential projects. It is also an example where we have a sector plan that is very recently updated in this location within the last couple of years. So wanted to kick that off by providing that information. At this time, I'll turn it back over to sort of the response to comments from both the applicant and also with our team. Thank you.
Sure. So from the applicant team's perspective, surprised to kind of get some of these comments and to kind of hear those remarks from you, Carrie, this morning. As you know, we met with Park and Planning staff in February of 23 when Arkland was the contract purchaser of this site, specifically to discuss at that stage, prior to their closing on the property, staff's support for a rezoning here. This is a vehicular-oriented, dated self-storage facility. We were very candid. The self-storage use of this property isn't going to remain, and Arkland could either choose to reinvest in some of the existing improvements, which are grandfathered and can continue to operate as they are, or they could choose to spend the time and money to pursue a rezoning, which would allow them to reinvest in the property in a way that would achieve many of the goals and objectives of the sector plan. And wanted to really just get Park and Planning's input at that early stage, again, when they were just a contract purchaser, as to Park and Planning support for us going through that process. We heard in that meeting that there was support for us doing something similar here to what we did in White Oak, to rezone the property, go through the conditional use, then go through the site plan to allow for that reinvestment. And we've since spent the money and taken the time to put together these applications to move it forward. So hearing now that there's not support for that comes as a surprise to the applicant team. There is not a market for residential here, and that was part of our candid conversation before. And that's partly why this Metro South area sector plan has seen no reinvestment since the sector plan was first adopted in 2006. This reinvestment of the existing use would allow us to implement a lot of the other objectives of the sector plan from an urban design perspective, and we felt really serve as a catalyst for hopefully bringing other reinvestment to this area. And for those reasons, do think that the project is in substantial conformance with the sector plan, right? It allows us to achieve the reinvestment that sector plan was really trying to incentivize. And it implements some of the other specific objectives through streetscape improvements, the future mid-block pedestrian connections, all of that. So for all of those reasons, we do believe this is in conformance with the sector plan. But I think for purposes of our discussion today, there was a number of other comments that we're going to discuss, but I think what would maybe be best is that we really just arrange a follow-up meeting with planning staff to kind of discuss the larger threshold questions more in more detail instead of kind of getting into the weeds on any of the design discussions.
We welcome further meetings and coordination. Liz, I think the other clarification, and I know the staff included this in their comments, is that you had cited a 2006 sector plan, but we have amended.
No, I understand it was updated in 2016. I'm saying that the sector plan
2021, actually. It was updated in 2021.
Okay, so I think there was also maybe a 16 minor master plan that I was looking at. But that 21, the most recent one, was very clear that there had been no reinvestment since the initial 2006 is what I'm referencing. It makes
Understood.
comments that
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. Understand. But I mean, I think, you know, we can further discuss. I think even since we've met in 2023, the area has experienced a lot of residential growth, and it is within walking distance of a metro station where we as a county want to see more mixed use development, and also that's reflected in the sector plan. But yeah, I understand you'd like to have further coordination. We welcome with all applicants further coordination, certainly. So maybe at this time we can go through the comments and have that discussion. Thank you.
So I think from our perspective, you know, I mean, obviously this is a bigger threshold comment that we weren't anticipating based on our initial meeting with staff. So I think instead of us kind of getting in the weeds in the comments about like the curb cuts or things like that, you know, it makes more sense just to arrange a follow-up meeting with planning staff. So Christina, I don't know if we should just coordinate with you or Troy after today's call to do that, but.
Yeah, go ahead and coordinate with Troy.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a standing hold every Tuesday that you can just jump in and have a meeting. But we can also coordinate with me based on your availability and staff availability to schedule that. But yeah, you can work through me and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Great. Steve, anything else you want to add before we?
No, Carrie, thanks for the comments. We're obviously, having just heard this news, pretty shocked. And we'll look forward to meeting. And, you know, I think Arkland came into this and during the contract purchase phase, really tried to hash out the feasibility of redeveloping the property. Although we don't have to redevelop it, it can stay as is. But we've kind of gone down that path and spent money. And quite frankly, if it was a non-starter, I wish I had spent that money on some minor repairs and CapEx. But at this point, we really look forward to further discussion and better understanding of how we can hopefully fit in with our product type. We obviously do serve those very multifamily developments and residential developments that you're referencing. And we're a community resource in that sense. So I've got nothing further, but look forward to meeting in person, hopefully here soon.
Okay, if that's it, then I guess this is probably one of the quickest DRC items. All right, thank you, everybody.
Great, thanks.
Thanks.
Sorrento. I'm the chief of the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division. And this is the DRC discussion item for 7501 Standish Place. The lead reviewer is Erin Fowler, and this meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and I will turn it over to Erin.
Thanks, Christina. Good morning, everyone. We're really excited to be reviewing this project, which is proposing to redevelop 4 current office buildings and surface parking into a new residential community with townhomes and 2/2s. We definitely believe this project will help advance the county's general plan goals to increase housing production and affordability of housing through the project's proposed 15% MPDUs in a transit-rich area. I know this project's just about 1.5 miles south of the Shady Grove Metro Station. So this is a proposed rezoning from IM 2.5 at moderate industrial to a new zoning of CRNF. And the proposal is for a maximum of 210 units up to 4 stories high. We're really looking forward to working with the applicant on future submissions of this project. And just, I think, a few pieces that I want to highlight before turning it over to the applicant team to ask any questions about the comments we received. In order to hit our target planning board date of November 21st, we will need to receive the final submittal from the applicant by September 17th. I know OZA is currently planning on a hearing date of December 17th. So those are just sort of the kind of milestones remaining for the project. The biggest topic I think we'd like to talk about today is the open space plan, and just figuring out how to work with you to reconfigure the open space a little bit to have more active and contiguous green space for the future residents of this community. I know some of our designers were able to provide you with a few design options to meet the open space requirements and strengthen the street grid pattern within the site. So I think with that, I can turn it over to the applicant.
Thanks, Erin. This is Patrick O'Neill. I'm an attorney at Loach, Hurley & Brewer on behalf of the applicant TriPoint. With me is Gio Esposito, who's the TriPoint representative and has been intimately involved in putting this plan together. We also have a couple of VICA people who are involved. Mike Goodman, I see on here, and Sasheen Kohlberg. I don't see Bill, but there was he may join us in a moment. So it's interesting you pointed out that the timing, that was one of our questions, Erin. According to the statutory timeline that we were looking at, that the applicant's final submission was due on October 1st. And I don't know what's the right time frame, but that's the time frame we were looking at. September 17th is a pretty quick turnaround given where we are at DRC.
Yeah, let me take another look at the project schedule to make sure that I was giving the right date there. Yeah, we have the 17th. I'm wondering, were you looking with October 1st from the deadline for like the expiration of the project? Because I do think there's, with the Thanksgiving holiday and just other constraints, that's the reason we were targeting that November 21st planning board date. And so I think we were just backing up timing from that. I believe the actual expiration of the project would be December 5th.
Yeah, Patrick, this is Matt Folden. I think another consideration here where we were backing up the timing was so that we could get our transmittal letter over to OZA. And so it compresses our review time a little bit.
All right, well, can we put a pin on that just to make sure that we're on the right page? Because and appreciate your enthusiasm, Erin. We're excited about this project too, for all the possibilities that it presents to a community in close proximity to Metro. The big one that you referenced that is probably worthy of a meeting sooner rather than later with Park and Planning is the various design proposals that have been put forth, that candidly that caught us off guard because we had met with staff back in March of this year and didn't have major comments on the overall design approach that we were taking. And then to get a variety of different design proposals, some of which are in line with what we're talking about, but others are not. So we want to nail that down sooner rather than later. So if there's a time next week that we can get it on the calendar to figure out what the appropriate design is for the site, that is sort of the threshold question right now. And anything else from our team on clarity that we're seeking on the various design options that have been proposed? Sasheen, are you trying to
I think you summarized it pretty good. I do have some just some follow-up questions for planning staff regarding the urban design goals of the sector plan as it relates for residential development. Are there any things that you can highlight for us that we are not covering from an urban design perspective for a residential community? Because that would help us formulate or prepare for our meeting next week. And this is for planning staff.
Yeah, I don't know if Natasha's on the call.
Yeah, Erin, I'm here. Yeah, good morning. So I think we kind of like summarized it on the design comments that you received from the area design, but I can kind of like summarize it here as well. So I think we proposed like 5 different layouts, and as you see, like we want to make sure that we take advantage of all the opportunity to create better street connections, shorter blocks, more walkable blocks, and also very defined public open spaces. So those are the goals that we try to achieve on those alternate site layout that we proposed. And we are more than happy to, in separate meeting, like go through all of those and explain it to you at different schemes. And if you guys have any questions, or you can come up with other alternative that achieve those goals, and we can discuss it in the separate meeting.
Okay, I think that the specific question that we can discuss is some of these seem to be sort of generic, not generic, but urban planning best practices versus comments that are actually tied to sector plan guidelines. So that's what we're trying to get our arms around where that distinction is.
Yeah, Patrick, this is Matt Folden again. I think that's a fair characterization. And because this is creating a new community here, we want to make sure that we are using the best practices. I know you referenced that we had met previously and didn't provide design comments. I was looking back at my notes, and you showed us this original proposal and we talked about timing and process and that kind of thing. But of course, this is when the rubber hits the road and we're looking into the details of the site. So just wanted to respond to that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess this isn't finger pointing. It's more just expressing that this is very different from what the direction we were going. So we'll talk. I don't know if hopefully someone's looking at a calendar for us to get on a date next week so we can get moving on that.
Yeah, Patrick, I'll follow up with you to figure out a time. Usually I know we meet Tuesdays following DRC, but because of the Labor Day holiday, I think maybe Wednesday is going to be the better day, but I can follow up with times that work on our end.
Perfect. Okay. And thank you, Natasha, for that. We'll roll up our sleeves and get ready for that conversation.
Yeah, sure.
See, next comment is on page 3 under common and public open spaces, page 3, third bullet down. And it talks about, I'm sorry, the fourth bullet down about the PUEs. There are existing PUEs in place. Is this comment to indicate that those should be abandoned, or is it saying something else?
Is that a transportation comment? I'm just trying to pull up.
Yeah, common and public open space comment from staff. page 3, fourth bullet down. We would suggest that this more urban development does not need PUEs at street edges.
That was from Natasha, I believe.
No, I didn't mention anything about PUE.
Oh,
Was that?
This
That
is
is
Rebecca
that
from
is yeah,
DOT.
go ahead.
I
ahead,
can just
Rebecca.
respond. Usually with the zero lot line, we don't have PUEs. If you have PUEs there and it works with your design, I don't see why you can't keep them. Otherwise, if it conflicts with your design, you know, building's going to be in the way, then you'd have to extinguish them.
Okay. That's
my
that
DOT
yeah.
perspective, basically.
That comment was provided by me. This is Paul Mortensen. And in creating these types of neighborhoods, similar to what I think Rebecca was stating, we didn't believe that PUEs were necessary here. And certainly when you're trying to create as narrow streets and, you know, a residential neighborhood like this in a more urban type of a setting, you know, if we can not have them, it's probably preferred so that we get tighter, better looking streets.
Yeah, we're not disagreeing with the comment, but just wanting to get clarity on what the expectation was for existing PUEs.
Okay.
Moving on to other clarifications, in the planning transportation comments on page 3, and this also correlates to Billy Whalen's comments about the expected complete streets compliance. I think you had some questions on that, Sasheen.
Yeah, we're
And
following.
this is the second bullet, and then also DOT's comment through Billy Whalen is what this is referring to.
Yeah, and if you can, for DOT staff, you can confirm or confirm that we're following the complete streets guidelines, the 2021 adopted plan. On page 43, under the boulevard classification, we were adhering to the 8-foot minimum side path and 6-foot minimum buffer. So if you can confirm that, that's what we're following, the guidelines for a boulevard street.
This is Richard Brockman, parking planning transportation reviewer. You could be using the default width.
Robert, yeah, Richard, sorry, your mom. It's hard to hear you. You start with the default. Minimum is not, unless you have to provide a specific reasoning of why you're going to the minimum. The default is our recommendation.
Okay.
So we do have some areas where there's existing utilities, like above grade utilities that are along Crabs Branch that forced us to use those minimums. And it's possible that we could just implement them in those, pinch points when they arise as well.
So we don't see this with this plan, obviously. What you have on the screen does not tell us that picture, so we don't know that is out there. So at this point, we need a default. You need to start with the default, and then you need to explain to us why you can't do the default.
Okay. We'll follow up with that and respond. That's helpful to know the perspective.
I mean, you've got some radii on there that we need the plan here, and I don't know if we've seen the plan for that Park and Planning has put out. But those turning radii, those 90-degree bends, they're generally not allowed. So you need to provide a reasoning of why you're reducing the centerline radius. And you need to show us that vehicles can work. So anything that is not standard per complete streets needs a design requirement, some kind of, discussion about why you're changing the standard.
Okay, but Rebecca, just for clarification, I think you're pointing out what is going to be reserved for fire access, the turning radii that you're referring to, perhaps, but maybe not.
Yeah, there's some like around there where the green street ends into on the right side, on the other side of the page. Yeah, down there, and there's like a 90-degree bend, I think, of a road. So, or I can't figure out exactly what's going on there. So.
Okay.
I hear what you're saying, and I guess it was more on the Crabs Branch streetscape section there.
Right.
We can give a better explanation than we did for this rezoning when we resubmit to show you those constraints that we're encountering.
And so like none of this information, unless you have a complete package, we can't provide that comment to you until preliminary plan phase.
Okay, well, we'll figure out how complete we think we can get within the time frame we need to resubmit for the rezoning, and then go from there.
All right. Other follow-up questions on that, or we'll move on to the next one. This is a clarification. I'll point out the specific comment if needed, but there was a comment to have a justification for private roads at preliminary and site plan. We're just making sure that heading that direction doesn't give any staff concerns or angst that we should be aware of at this stage of the process.
Hopefully you can hear me now. This is Richard Brotmeyer. I don't have any concerns. I was just making you aware that we will need that justification.
Okay. Thank you.
He sounds like Darth Vader.
That's what I was thinking.
All right. And then I think this is, traffic calming on Crabs Branch was a comment under transportation, planning transportation. The expectation that we have is that the activation and pedestrian upgrades that we're putting in address that comment. Is there more to it that is embedded in the transportation comment? This is about traffic calming on Crabs Branch.
It's Rebecca from DOT. I'm not sure. Richard probably made the comment, I would assume, but
No, I didn't make the comment. So
you didn't make the comment?
If you could tell me what the comment was, that would be helpful. Sorry, I'll try and switch mics. But if you could just tell me what the comment is, when I try and do that.
It's on page 6, top of the page. The first full paragraph that begins: the sector plan recommends for this segment of Crabs Branch, which is outside the metro neighborhood, to explore traffic calming engineering treatments to slow speeds on Crabs Branch Way, including but not limited to removal of left turn lanes, bump outs, curb extensions, and curb radii.
Okay, so that was a planning comment. I don't know about traffic calming on Krebs Branch Way. I don't know what the road's classified, so we'd have to take a look at that. That has to go through, I'm not sure that can go through this process, or it has to go through a separate process for it.
I did not make that comment, so I don't know if that was Paul.
That was a master plan, a sector plan comment. So that was from Nkosi. I think it was just general sector plan guidance for that area. Yeah.
Okay. Again, just trying to clarify if there's more to it than that overview that you just gave, Aaron.
Yeah.
Going on through the report, I think that covered the big questions or clarifications that we were seeking, and then obviously the design meeting that we're anticipating. Is there anything else from TriPoint's team that we would want to hit on today?
No, Patrick, I think you summarized it well.
Okay.
We appreciate your time and the answers to these questions, and look forward to following up next week.
Great. I'll be in touch, Patrick, with times, and then I'll send a calendar invite out.
Sounds good. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.